So the first one I want to talk about is this home right here. This home was on the market in Seattle for 6 months, I believe, something like that. The seller paid 265, I think, for the property out of the gate. At that time, this is a studio, 489 feet. The seller could have bought a parking place for an additional $70,000 and chose not to. So this was a brand new agent selling the home. He had it listed for 6 months. He had started out at 367, and bottom line is, by all said and done, he had lowered the price down to $279,000. During that 6 month process, not one person showed the property, not one buyer called him and asked him about the property. And he called him, said, I am stumped. They took the property down to 279. He thought for sure somebody would get excited about buying it, but not one person looked at it. His closest comp sold at 275 with a parking spot. Okay. So we had talked to Mona and I talked to him, and after deliberation, after 3 or 4 hours or 3 or 4 different things of talking to him, he finally took a listen and lowered this down to $199,000. He shocked him. Remember, we talked about buyer bucket pools, you guys. A home like in Seattle, the home that we sold over Columbus Day, it was priced at $800,000. Average price in the Seattle market's about $850 now. So we knew that we had 100% buyer bucket pool that could look at that home and buy that home. I think we had 113 people at the open house. Mona did it. I had pneumonia, so she didn't capture any leads. She was kind of overwhelmed. 2 words I never want to hear on an open house, because you price home right, believe it or not, people show up at the open house. But the bottom line is this one here is a studio, no parking place, smack in the middle of downtown Seattle. I don't know what you think the buyer bucket pool, but I'm going to say it's 5% at best. Another type of home where there's a buyer's bucket pool where it's 10% or less, 55 and olders. Another one is mobile homes. Mobile homes, I'm going to take it up to 30%. Unless it's 55 and older, then I'm going to drop it back down to 10. So all those homes, when we list them on the site, we've got to take the market conditions into value with that, right? So we got to come in and we got to shock the system, so to speak. This guy coming in at $199,000. Now remember, at 279, not one person looked at it, not one person called him, nothing. So he puts it on for $199,000, did an open house, had 27 people come to that open house. Then he puts it on the site, and he's got people getting pre-qualified. He has some cash people send in proof of funds. Look at where we ended up. $275,000. That owner put money in his pocket simply by shocking the system and letting the transparency do its job. Those are the kind of effects that you can get, but you got to play the game right. And you got to, when we talk about listing presentations, the seller's got to understand where this has to be to make this thing sing. And if we don't get that price, we have two choices. Don't take it, which is my choice, or do it traditional. But when you do it traditional and it's priced at market value, maybe a little bit above market value, what's happening? We're either chasing the price down or we're chasing the price up. When we list it traditionally, we're always chasing the price down. And even when we get down to that point where it's at market value, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to come in and offer less than that. And now all of a sudden you got to get your negotiating boots on. How well are you representing the sellers using that strategy?
Coming down and just waiting for that one person that's looking for that house at that price, it's not representing them well at all. You've got to get some variety of people in there to look at it. And that's what chasing the price up will do.
When you go through the new training, we talk about shocking the system. We talk about sciences, features, and benefits. The science behind a home, if I get 100 people in there, the science behind the home is I know that I'm going to get 10 people making offers on the site. And if I get 10 people making offers on the site, that's Shangri-La. That's when we end up with our 20 to 30% above market value. We've had two noticeable homes in the time that we've done this with agents. I had a home that went up $290,000 over starting price. That's not the highest. The highest we had was Joe Petno in Florida, $309,000 over starting price. And I think it was ended up 90% above market value. We always got to try to get the sellers to do their job. The new training is actually going through one of my successful listing presentations from A to Z with the contract, with the closing statement, with the marketing that we do. And I use that to this day for my listing presentation. Seller's not going to say no. They'd be foolish to say no. And again, wasn't my best one ever. But you know what it is? It's one where I have the contract, I have the website and the bids that were made, and I have the contract when we went to purchase sale agreement. Because remember, we're adding on that buyer's premium into the purchase price, right? So all of that stuff is there, all the stuff is documented, and we go ahead and show you even how it works on the closing statement.